Hey guys, I am Hunter Dino. I am your Dino Fury Pink Ranger and the new Cosmic Fury Red Ranger. I just met Gaz here because look at this, right? But I just heard about his YouTube channel, Action Activate. You guys should go check it out because he's amazing.
What is happening? I am Gazbot, and this is Action Activate. And if I am Gazbot, and this is Action Activate, well, then with me, as always,
it is the big dog, but I'm a little different this week. I'm the Duster Dog this week because we're not talking about Power Rangers. We're talking about Loser Ranger, the new anime on Hulu that we're a couple weeks behind now. But hey, it's still pretty new.
I didn't realize how new it was because I had seen a trailer for it a while ago. And so when you mentioned it, I figured like, oh, season one's already out. And then I was like, oh, there's only 5 episodes in this season. It's like, oh, that episode just came out today. Oh, we're hot new. And it's based on a manga, which I understand is only a couple years old too. So it was like picked up pretty quick.
Correct. Yeah. I believe the manga is like between 10 and 15 volumes so far. Probably less than 100-ish chapters based on that math, but it's really cool. Before we kind of dive into it, we had asked in a poll a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago at this point, if we weren't reviewing Power Rangers, what kind of stuff would you guys want? And Sentai / anime Ranger-ish adjacent stuff was at the top of the list. So everything coincided here. If you love this review and you want more, let us know down below. If you absolutely despise this review and hope we never do it again, comment down below. But let's dive into it. Initial thoughts.
People might be asking because we had been halfway-ish through Mystic Force.
No, 2 people are asking this question.
Okay. Are we ever going to go back to that, do you think?
You were one of them. Yes. When it comes to Power Rangers, I mean, we're technically 5 episodes into Operation Overdrive for the last, 5 years. So if we're talking about one that we've never finished and haven't touched in a long time, that would be the one.
Good point. Okay, but here's a disclaimer though.
Yes.
I watched this last week or whatever. Mm-hmm. I watched the first 3 episodes.
Yes.
Did you watch just the first episode?
I watched just the first episode.
Okay, because I was under the impression that we were going to just do a one and done. And you're like, well, if people like it, we'll do every episode. And I was like, oh, well, I watched 3. Do you want to do 3? Like, no. I'm like, okay. So
which is so weird because we almost never do that when we review anything.
No, and not only do we almost never do that, but we're usually the opposite. Where you're like, I watched a bunch more, and I'm like, I have no time to watch anything. But it was just a weird thing where I had time, and Tech Advisor Urzuki's like, oh, let's watch this. Let's watch. I'm like, sure, fine, why not? You know. So the reason I bring this up though is I'm gonna let you lead the charge because I know more than you, and I don't want to
Fair. So as you had on there, the team in the show is called Sentai Daishikaku, which is translated roughly to Dragon Keepers. Mm-hmm. So we have a pretty cool looking team. Does a good setup. We're going to jump around a lot in this review, A, because he can't spoil anything, and B, just because that's kind of how they do this episode anyway, which is kind of cool. We're going to be super sensitive with what we show because we really don't want a copyright strike.
I'm not going to play any footage or sound. I'm going to show stills like this.
Yes, I'm just letting everybody know because sometimes we play stuff. I'm not messing with the anime company that does this. So pause right here, though. So right here is the main crux of what we're learning. On the right side is the Sentai team, and on the left side are the henchmen known as Dusters. That's why I'm Duster Dog this week.
I love the faces on these guys, actually.
I love everything about everything we've seen thus far.
Well, yeah, putting aside everything else, it is high-quality animation. The intro, it's one of those intros where you're like, well, the show may or may not be good, but it is a cool intro. They're doing a lot of cool fight scenes and cuts, and I love the costumes. You know, the only thing I was like, I don't know if disappointed is the right word. One of the first Rangers they show clearly, at least in my mind, was the green one that has that kind of grinning cover. And when they showed the others and you could see their face through them, I was like, oh, oh, that's weird, but it's not. Like, it's just we're so used to Power Rangers and Sentai where it's like a metal face. But like, if I was in a helmet, I'd prefer my mouth be out, you know. So there's nothing wrong with it, but that struck me as odd.
This reminded me of very 70s and 80s Sentai, I'm forgetting the name of the full series, but like yes, Jaka and
Ranger.
Ranger. What was it after Jaka?
Battle Fever J was
Battle Fever J. Thank you. Okay. Where there was like you could tell they were a team, but they were all grossly different in how they looked. So I liked that in terms of the helmets. Everything else pretty similar, but very solid, very clear definition of here's the Sentai Ranger team. Here are the henchmen, and I love that the henchmen look super simple. Yeah. And then you look, and the more you look, you're like, oh, that's a cool detail. Oh, I kind of like how there's like a horn there. Oh, and the teeth go this way. And you're just like lost in this like complexity of how simple it is. And it just works perfectly. It's amazing. I love it.
And it's also great because it's the putties, but it's also shocker troops from Kamen Rider. It's like, it's the most homogenized, basic, generic foot soldier from all these different shows. Yep. But they still wanted them to look like kind of cool and like their own thing. But it looks like it could be from any, you know, if you said, oh, they just took this from one of these other shows, I'd be like, okay, I believe you, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely ripped this from Ultraman. I'd be like, I don't think of that, but sure. That's the only one where I'd be like, I don't think Ultraman fought a bunch of human-sized soldiers.
Not usually, yeah.
Anyways, with that in mind, we kind of get a little bit of world building. Everybody's really excited about the Sentai team. There's this big Coliseum. They're doing meet and greets. They're sponsored.
And for full disclosure, I have not watched a ton of anime. I've watched more than someone that doesn't watch anime, but like I haven't watched a ton, and I haven't watched a ton the last couple of years. So my frame of reference is not that large, but and not in an exact copy way, and not in a bad way. Something about this. And this part specifically reminded me of Tiger and Bunny.
I was gonna say it's very reminiscent for at least the initial world building of the heroes aren't only like heroes that fight monsters, but they're part of the pop culture societal demographic where it's like everybody's wearing a shirt of it. Oh, did you buy that, red Dragon Keeper soda? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, spoilers, what you find out in this episode, but like the difference being that in Tiger and Bunny, which for those that don't know, it's like a reality show of superheroes. And while they have different personalities and some of them are more vain and everything in Tiger and Bunny, generally they're like real superheroes, but they're commodified, almost like an actor who's like, I love acting, but yes, money. And like that's whereas with this, it's like, oh, they might not actually be as good and care as much.
The way that this was pitched to me on multiple social media platforms was, oh, it's Super Sentai meets The Boys.
It could certainly go that way. It's not that way right now, but yeah.
Granted, I've watched one episode, he's watched 3, but the premise, the premise of it is this big floating thing in the sky comes down and alien monsters come and attack the world.
Specifically every Sunday.
Well, now it's every Sunday. Initially, it was not.
Oh, right. You're right.
Yes. There was a big, long war with the aliens and the Sentai team, and the Sentai team beat them mostly. But now, every Sunday, they seem to come together and do it, which, as it gets explained, you're like, well, that's kind of weird, but okay. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this episode that they explain it, and you're like, that seems odd, but I'm going to roll with it. And then by the end, you're like, makes perfect sense.
Yes. And also, and maybe I didn't know a ton going in. Maybe I knew a hair more than you. But I also was like, it had a very, Akiba Ranger or other parody thing going where it's like, why are they fighting? Like, and they did explain it, but why are they fighting every week? Oh, because it's a weekly TV show, because they're parodying Super Sentai. Why is there a new monster every week? Because that's what they do, And so in universe, they do explain it, but I was ready to just accept it as like, well, because it's silly,
Yeah. It's very like, every Sentai trope happens. And then, as you said, in universe, they're like, this is a Sentai trope that we're feeding into.
Right.
So we get through all this. Let's jump forward a good ways. We see
they're trying to recruit this guy to like the junior members, essentially.
Yeah. Pretty much people who are semi-involved, depending on how high up the ranks of the kind of, as you said, junior crew, as it were. And right here we get the big Coliseum Sentai fight. We got the cronies that are called Dusters, which is a great name because they form from dust and then they take their form. And
which
then
is
go for it.
It's at once not very powerful, but if you're imagining, like they kind of can't be destroyed. So it's like they're not super strong. It's one of those powers where, like, if you're creative enough, it could be pretty good.
Very much like Mucus and Slither.
Yeah.
More Mucus, but
what do you think of this monster of the week, the Ultra Tiger?
At first I was like, it seems like a little kind of cobbled and didn't make perfect sense, but whatever. And then by the end, I was like actively happy about it.
Yeah, and I will go with you on that. Again, they explain it later, but I was loving it already because, like, I'm the Ultra Tiger, and there's parts of cars in him.
Yeah,
and it's like, why? And it's never really. He's not like, I'm car type, and it's like, because in Super Sentai, like 90% of the time, the monster is like a lamp and a dog. That's the monster. And so it's like, yeah, again, this makes perfect sense. And again, they explain more later, but yeah.
Yeah, like I remember in Mighty Morphin specifically, there's like 3 triplets that came from a lipstick tube. And you're like, I don't know why there's 3 of you, but okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely great Sentai back and forth. The thing that I like about this being in an anime setting is there's more like dramatic instances that I feel are easier to highlight in an anime versus Sentai, just because like there's certain tropes that are easier to get past than if you see a live human do it.
True, and you could do a lot cheaper. Animation isn't cheap, but animating somebody jumping or like it doesn't make much difference what they're doing. It's not like you need to get new sets and any like extra special effects. You're still just drawing it either way. Yeah,
but when you see somebody go like, oh, dramatically, something about it being animated, you're like, I'm believing this so much more than some random people going, oh, I can't believe we might lose this fight right now.
Like that hold too, where someone's like, and like the lines, whereas in real life it'd be like, what are you doing?
I also love, again, leading into this lore, they've said this war's gone on for like years. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happened here where they're like, this is the strongest monster we've ever fought. Right, I don't know how we're going to do it. Well, as long as there's someone to save, I'm going to save. And like everything about it, this is so corny. I love it.
And the people in the crowd who see them win every week will go, oh no, they're not going to win this time.
They might not win.
Yeah.
Look, even holding each other up. Now, pause right here.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts. Obviously you're a couple episodes in. Who is your favorite Ranger here? Like, just aesthetically or what you've seen so far?
Green,
Pink was your favorite? Oh, green was your favorite?
Because the crazy grinning teeth mouth.
Yeah, I would go green, then red, then others.
I think red is probably the best design, like overall, just as like a Sentai suit. But green is the one I'm like, what is this guy's deal? That's crazy looking. Like, I'm interested to find out what's going on with green.
Did we both also have the same thought when we saw both the opener and this?
I don't know.
So you guys are releasing stuff when?
Oh yeah, here these would be great like Sentai figures, but like the figure I would most want isn't in this picture, and I think probably the same for you. No,
the Duster, yeah.
I mean I would want to, if I got one figure, I'd want a Duster.
So what I will say, I've seen plenty of people do it on Power Ranger Lightning Collection groups on Facebook. If anybody is able to track them down, dude, people have made custom Dusters already
out of putties.
Either putties or just like generic foot soldiers, like the org ones that I'm forgetting from Wild Force, or like just.
I'm sure it's not that hard. Especially because it's mostly black. You just got to paint the face. But I'm just not that guy. I just don't do that.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, if someone had one up and they're like $30, you'd go, "Yep."
Maybe. The reason I would hesitate is because when I found out that this show is so new, we got to give it time. I don't know how the ratings are. If this season goes well, I mean, then maybe, Bandai will start putting out some figures or something. Who knows? But we got to wait and see.
You wouldn't pay for slightly above retail to have one of these scale with your Power Rangers?
I don't have. Okay, let me phrase this correctly. I don't want to impugn anybody that does custom work, and some people do great custom work, and some people just do fun stuff for themselves, whatever. I have seen custom work for sale that at a glance looks nice, but I wouldn't want it in my collection because the paint is tacky, or the lines aren't straight, or it doesn't quite match the aesthetic. And I'm not saying it to impugn people who do it or like it. It would have to be such a high quality that it would be almost indistinguishable from my other figures on the shelf. That's my standard. And so I would only do that if it was to that standard, or I would wait.
You mean like something that you're like, oh, whoop, as I drop it. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this is unofficial.
Let me pull this out here.
I don't have my Lightning collection one on me, but I do have this custom pop.
Let me give you a solo. I don't know. At a glance, that looks good, but in my hand, it might not. My recollection, and I could be wrong, is that you have a Quantum Ranger, which is a little bit more noticeably custom. Am I correct about that?
I have a custom Quantum Ranger pop, and I have a custom. That's
an obvious custom to me. Is it bad? Yeah. No, but I could see that the paint lines. It's just not.
What's custom? What's custom about it?
Yeah, the signature. When did you get that signed?
Yeah, I told. We did an episode about it.
No, we did. No, I know you met him, but I thought at the end of. Oh no, you didn't want to ask him for a shout out or anything. That's what it was. I knew you didn't do something. And again, I'm not trying to put down the person who did the work on that or your love of it or anything. And at a glance, it's fine. But being who I am, I can tell that's custom just by looking at it. And I don't want that. I want to not be able to tell.
So what you're saying is, in regards to this episode,
I would like figures of this. Yes.
Yes.
And
same.
All the Rangers too. Yes. That I would like that.
All of the above. I could go without the Tiger Monster. No offense to the Tiger Monster.
That's just a one and done character.
Also, loved the moment of the kid shouting out, like, "You can do it!" And he's like,
did you watch this in English or Japanese?
This is not in English yet. It's coming out in June in English.
Okay, because I watched the sub. I didn't think about it. Like, we should have probably agreed on what we were. So we're watching the sub. So there we go. Okay.
There's only sub right now, and the way we're currently tracking for it, we'll probably just do the sub.
Yeah.
But
this is where they are like, we're gonna. Sorry, go ahead.
Good duster shot. The other thing I want to say about the dusters, and they highlight this a lot better later, but they all are different sizes, which I really appreciate.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's most noticeable that there's a friend of the main duster who's like a bigger dude, but I feel dumb because I know they refer to each other when they as a letter. And I'm only now realizing that they have letters on their shoulders.
I knew you were going to say that. And I'm like, yeah, you could kind of see it like right away.
I think because when I was watching it, I just wasn't paying attention that action was happening. But in these freeze frames, it's super, super clear.
Yeah. This whole part was great. The D Duster is the one who kind of breaks ranks a little bit and goes off script. And then after that, during this fight, we get the super ultra mega attack. That cannon they have, by the way, is really cool. It was in an earlier shot, but don't worry about it. And then we're like, oh, so what's going on? So all of the dusters are coming up with essentially the episode an hour before the episode. And this is just so amazing. I loved it.
And it also gives the dusters are all very animated and cartoony and exaggerated. And the fact that they are A, aliens, B, made of sand, and C, in this weird, sort of time loop of having to make stuff up, kind of makes sense why they are that way in a world that isn't a cartoony world,
Mm-hmm. They also explain here that all of their generals were defeated immediately.
Yes.
But they were left because they're, at least as of now, semi-unkillable.
Right. Well, but also useful.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, you know more than I do, but they are useful, and again, they're kind of in this weird thing of we can't really go against the Sentai team because we don't know what else we would do, so I guess we just got to keep doing this. And D is the one who's like, I'm over this, and we find out at the end of the episode he has a goal of defeating the Sentai team somehow, some way. I didn't
notice that eye in the chair before.
I did, and I was wondering what it was. Is it, one of their generals turned into a chair? Is it somebody from their home world that's peeking in? That intrigued me in a really cool way.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, they come up with the monster, and this is where we talk about how it's goofy, where they're like, what about a cat? They're like, nothing scary about a cat. Okay, how about a tiger? Okay, but what does a tiger look like?
They say something I forget what, a lion or a cheetah. They're like, we did that a year ago. And it's tiger. We didn't do tiger because they were like, we've done everything. And they're just they're like writers on a sitcom that's been going on too long.
Yep. And then F is my favorite visually. He's like kind of oafy.
He's the big guy.
Also, I love how they have shifts because they keep talking about like, D, be quiet. You're not even working today.
Right. Yeah. It's a job for them at this point.
Yeah, everything about it's awesome. But yeah, then they're like, because in the fight we didn't show the clip, but the tiger turned into a truck and then like drove at them, and that's why he has weird car parts. And they're like, but it's a truck tiger. They're like, why? Who cares? Just we gotta go.
I think there's a language joke there. Something about the Torah. And the tiger, like I meant to look it up because I think there's some Japanese joke where like tiger and truck sound the same or something like that. And like, so even though it still makes no sense, I think that's why they did that.
Something like that. Either way, it was awesome. We again have them go back and forth talking about this plan going down there, and then it cuts back to real time.
Well, and D and F, everybody else is sort of like, D, you're an idiot, shut up. And F is like, hey man, I get it, but like, what are we gonna do? And like, I'm gonna try to do my best. And like, he isn't where D is, but he's like, I understand you, and like, I feel weird too.
Yeah. Cuts back to the fight. We see everything. I love shots like this too, where it's hinting at, you know, there being something menacing about the Sentai team, which is really
even
cool.
The fact that they're like pretending to be hurt and like all that stuff. Yeah, this.
Because I think it was a thing earlier where like they got hit and they're like, oh, that was kind of a harder punch than
and they all
normal.
fell down like, oh, what are we gonna do? But it later becomes clear like they were never in any danger. You know, it was all just
really cool effect how they dust into each thing. By the way, also, we didn't explain this, but one of the dusters is the designated monster of the week.
Oh yeah,
because they can all shapeshift. So that's why like throughout the episode, it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Like, I don't know. Like, I thought we already ran through the script. Like, this is farther than we thought of. And, like, there's weird ad-lib part. It's just great. First of all, watch it. If we didn't say that already, just watch it. Yeah. Don't listen to us. Watch it and then come back and listen to us.
And so that even, because I had that thought, like, okay, even if the dusters come back, what about the monster of the week? Where's that coming from? But it's all the dusters are effectively immortal and can shapeshift to a certain degree. So they all get blasted with this thing, and they turn to dust, so it seems like they're gone, but then they go reform back up at the ship.
Sorry. The one thing I was going to say, I think they explain it where, like, in the episode lore, like the in-universe lore, they're like, oh, and we have to defeat these dusters, and when we do, they transport back to their base, and hopefully we don't see them again, and then every Sunday you see them again.
I didn't remember that part, but I always assumed that, like, even if they thought the dusters were defeated, like, there's the new monster and the new, like, they just keep coming, you know, because they don't know, the world at large doesn't know that the Sentai team is in control essentially, and like knows what's going on in the ship. They think there's this evil empire in the ship that once a week launches an attack. So there could be 1 million in there for all they know, like for the general public anyway.
Yeah.
But so D stands there, everyone else goes, and I was thinking like, well, they're going to get demolished. What, you know, but then they reform and they're still on the field. And the team's like, what?
Yeah, D again is setting up kind of you know, going against the grain here, grain of sand. You're welcome. And then we find out, as I said, D is going to try to, you know, infiltrate the team. He goes back to the recruiters
first he tries to fight them and just is destroyed immediately. He has no chance whatsoever.
Yeah. Eviscerated. Completely. What? I said eviscerated.
Yeah, they just rip him up.
Awesome Cannon is awesome.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that they use that for the monster of the week, and like we barely could beat the strongest monster, and then D comes out, Red kind of cuts him in half, he's defeated, and they're like, we better use that cannon again. It's like, that seems like overkill, but okay.
Yeah. The cannon looks very reminiscent of Gridman, by the way.
Oh, I was thinking it reminded me, was it Zeo?
Mighty Morphin Season 2 had it because I think it was from Die Ranger.
Yeah, because that's, you know what, you're right. I was thinking of Die Ranger.
I got you. But yeah, again, like this is explaining he poses as a human. He goes to those recruiters. He's like, oh, hey, let me get recruited. I'm going to be a human and, you know, try to take these guys down from the inside.
Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm glad I didn't say anything else.
So episode 1, great. Super solid.
Yes. I watched the first 3, still good. My worry, and this is, maybe unfounded, but like I feel like with the animes I've watched, they kind of go one of two routes. Even the ones I like. Wow, this is a crazy setup and premise, and I can't wait to watch the next one, and that maintains more or less till the end. Or this is a great premise and setup. Oh, now there's 3 episodes that like, what are we doing? I don't care. Oh, we're back to the story. And filler is the word is used a lot, but it's not always literally filler. Sometimes it just meanders. So I don't know what type of show this is yet, but I can say as of episode 3, it's still like, oh, wow, where are we going? This is great. So my fear is I'm going to hit like episode 7 and then we're going to be like, oh, this is slowing down, you know?
Yeah, but definitely solid recommend. I'm looking forward to reviewing this because not that I dislike Mystic Force, but this was new and exciting and we both haven't watched it.
Yeah.
And again, trying something semi-new. We haven't reviewed an anime here before. So if there's other Ranger-esque or Sentai-esque animes you know of, let us know because we are curious just what exists. This is the first one we know of. But anything else on your part?
No. Oh, well, I guess in 2 weeks, like the first weekend in June, if you're in the LA, lower California area, there's going to be Robo Toy Fest, which I will be at selling some toys and some art. And they have a couple Power Rangers there. I know Selwyn Ward for sure is going to be there. And then they have a bunch of voice actors and other stuff. So if you're in the area, it's worth checking out. And I will be there, so you can come say hi to me.
And if for some reason you go from Southern California and or live in Northern California, the next weekend I will be at the San Jose Toy Show.
Okay. So there
selling
you go.
my wares. And just being a toy guy. But until next time, I'm the big dog.
And I am Go Gazbot Ranger.
And
to
the power. Yeah. See y'all.
And I do credits. That's what I do.
I really just want them to make toys of this.
Yeah. I feel like SH Figure Arts, like I could see it being like a Tiger Bunny, like an Akiba Ranger, where like you're not going to be evergreen. Like they'll kind of put them out now, and then that'll be it. You get them now, or you never get it. Although I say that, but if the show ends up, I guess I'm thinking that this show, I mean, there's a lot of manga, so what do I know? But I'm imagining this isn't like a Dragon Ball or Naruto or something where it's just going to go on forever. I feel like it's going to be like 2 or 3 seasons and done, right? I mean, that's kind of
maybe. I mean, right now I haven't heard anything stopping in regards to the manga.
Right.
So
I get, and again, I'm not far enough in. Like, I'm not going to say anything spoilery, but where I'm at, it's not like, oh, the next episode will be the end. But I also am like, the trajectory that we're on seems finite. And it seems like, how long can it go,
As somebody who also watched 15 seasons of Supernatural.
True.
Just saying. They find a way.
Yeah. All right. See you, everybody.